All right, hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. Got our buddy Dennis is back a second week in a row.
Two-time Timmy.
Must have went well last week, I think, right? Yeah, the Jordan Peterson video has gotten a lot of hits already.
I know. I'm still waiting for him to call him back. I called
Yeah,
the secretary.
well, I texted him last week and said you're gonna be on, and he didn't reply.
Yeah, it's okay.
He never does.
We'll get him there.
But there is another character that I've been watching for a while. Everybody knows him. He's crazy popular. Joe Rogan.
What did he used to do?
He was a comedian.
Okay.
And then he did that really weird show where they would eat different things, like a long time ago in the 90s when he had hair.
Oh, Fear Asylum or
Fear Factor.
Fear Factor.
Fear Factor. I
Okay.
think he did that, and then he got into MMA. And then,
mixed martial arts.
And then somebody said, you should podcast. And nobody was podcasting. So Joe started podcasting. And so, but I kind of have watched him over the years. He never inspired me to be a podcaster. And he's a great podcaster.
Yeah, he's got some great people on.
And he had crazy topics like, did we go to the moon?
Right.
Bigfoot.
I love that one.
Bigfoot is real. Things like that.
Sasquatch.
He would talk about things that no one else would talk about. But now I think he's, I think he was pretty liberal in his politics.
Oh, really?
I think he was.
Was or is?
I'm not sure if he was, but I think he was pretty liberal. There's some of the things that I've read about you, Joe, that you might have been pretty liberal. I don't know. But now he's...
you sure he's not a pretty liberal?
I think he's more like a Jay Leno. Remember how Jay Leno sort of stayed out of the right and stayed out of the left and just had people on and didn't get into politics?
Yes.
I think, Joe, maybe I'm wrong, but I think you're a little bit more like that. You're a bit more neutral.
Yeah.
And I'm an independent. I left my party years ago because I couldn't take them anymore.
Party of one.
That's right.
Party of one.
Join my political party. I am running for president in 2028.
You go, boy.
Anyway, I'm also a Green Bay Packer fan. Aaron Rodgers fan. He went to the Jets just like Favre did. And then maybe Rodgers.
I thought Favre went to the Vikings.
Well, he did after the Jets.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I'm a Packer fan is because of Favre, really. So what's the connection? Aaron Rodgers was on Joe Rogan.
Oh, really?
And guess what they talked about?
Chiropractic, because Aaron Rodgers' dad is a chiropractor.
No, they did not. They talked about Jesus.
Really?
It was bizarre.
Why bizarre?
Because you wouldn't think Joe is going to talk about Jesus.
Why not?
He doesn't seem the type.
Okay.
Given his vulgarity, I mean, he is very open, and I like that about Joe. I don't really care for your vulgarity. I think you could stop saying the F-bomb. I don't think we need to hear that word and some of the other words.
That's French, you know.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. I know that, but I just don't think it's appropriate for podcasting. This video is going to be Glen Gower disses Joe Rogan.
I love it.
Who the heck is Glen? Nobody knows who I am. Yeah. But they were talking about Jesus.
Okay.
And Joe said, well, maybe we need a little more Jesus. And maybe we need him to come now and fix this mess that we're in.
Okay. What did Aaron Rodgers have to say about that?
Aaron agrees.
Really?
Yeah, you got to go watch the video. You know, as I podcast, I really don't pop in videos so you can watch them, then we comment on them. One of the reasons why, and I might end up doing that, is because I always hate those kinds of podcasts, you know.
Yeah, you give him commentary and feedback.
So Joe Rogan is talking about Jesus, and he and Aaron Rodgers, I'll put the link so you guys can watch it if you want, but it was like, I was in the Twilight Zone, which is a TV show a long time ago. It was bizarre to hear Joe say we might need Jesus to come back now and get us out of this mess.
What mess?
Well, the world.
The world's a mess?
Well, I think so. I think so.
I think our clients and our friends know
And
the world's a mess.
I think so. And let's fast forward. Joe Rogan had Riley Gaines on. Do you know who Riley Gaines is?
Never heard of him.
Riley Gaines is a swimmer. She was competing for a particular match. I don't know which one. I don't follow swimming. But a trans woman decided to swim in the NCAA and tied Riley's record. And they both won a certain event. And he got to take the trophy home. And she talked about how she was treated. They had to dress in the same locker room and the mess it was. And the NCAA was behind this whole thing. So you can go watch the craziness. I mean, I'm telling you, the NCAA seems more and more like the devil than the NFL. It's a mess. Again, I'm not sure what happened to Jim Harbaugh over there in Michigan, but it seems like a mess. Anyway, she had, Joe Rogan had Riley Gaines on, and she was talking about Jesus with Joe Rogan and the Bible and what the Bible's saying. And she said his return is past due. He needs to come now. But here, she and Joe were having this conversation about Jesus in the Bible. And then fast forward to Kid Rock. Do you know who Kid Rock is?
Oh, yeah.
You like Kid Rock?
Oh, my gosh.
Why do you like Kid Rock?
Well, one, who doesn't love his music?
I've never listened to you, Kid Rock.
Oh, my goodness.
I really never have.
He's got some great tunes.
No kidding.
Yeah,
he's country, right? Country
no,
rock?
He's rock.
He's rock and roll.
He's rock all the way.
I thought he was country.
No, he's rock all the way.
Maybe he's a country boy that went rock.
Well, he's country now, but he doesn't make any new music lately. But my favorite part about Kid Rock is after Bud Light came out about supporting trans, Kid Rock had a video because he was a corporate endorser or something as a musician
Bud Light?
for Bud Light. He went out in the backyard of his property, and this is an awesome YouTube video of him lining up a couple of cases of Bud Light he had in his property.
I saw that.
And got his AR, automatic rifle out. And
semi-automatic.
Just and this is what I think of you, Bud Light. And like, heck yeah.
It's interesting you bring the Bud Light dimension in.
Tranny fluid.
Because he was talking to Joe Rogan about Jesus. And he even said, would you like to be introduced to Jesus? Because my pastor, who's the spiritual director for Donald Trump, can introduce you to Jesus. Kid Rock says, would you like to know Jesus? And Joe kind of sat back a little bit. But anyway, there's a lot of Jesus talk in the Joe Rogan experience. What is going on? What do you think?
I don't know. Is it branding? Is it marketing? Is he hitting a hot topic right now? Or is there a genuine, sincere interest in getting to know our Savior? I don't know Joe personally. I know his show. I've seen a little bit of it. And yeah, he uses a lot of profanity. His brand, his symbol for his program is the third eye, so it tells me he's probably into some of the alternative ideologies that are out there.
What is the third eye?
The third eye, that's more of the pagan side of religion, the all-seeing eye that transcends, puts you at a higher dimension of seeing.
Don't shamans have something to do with the third eye?
Something like that. You know, it goes all the way back to Egypt using a third eye. If you look back at the Egypt cryptography and the way they use symbolism in their drawings, there's a third eye representation. And it's about getting to another dimension, kind of what they talk about in yoga or certain types of meditation, where you move to a transcended plane. You get clear, you get beyond this physical world, and you move into the metaphysical world. And you see it on our currency. U.S. dollar has the third eye on top of the pyramid.
That's weird. Don't you think that's weird?
It's the all-seeing eye. I mean, it goes back to some of the Masonic culture ideology and some of its roots coming out of the Middle East. You see it in Marvel, the Marvel Universe now. Mm-hmm. Doctor Strange now is presenting and sharing the third eye as part of his multiverse platform. And it's out and around everywhere. I've got patients that have it tattooed on their bodies, and yeah.
And it might mean nothing for Joe Rogan. It might be just an image that, I don't know why he has a third eye, but I've always thought the third eye was weird.
I think it's a little strange, but then again, I also don't know much. So we've always talked about we're open-minded.
Yeah.
So if someone's out there knows more about it, share, because I'm curious as well to know more of its history and origin and impact.
Is anybody else talking about Jesus like Joe Rogan? I know you didn't know Joe was talking about Jesus this much in his podcast.
No, I had no
but
idea.
It seems like almost everybody he has on recently, somebody's talking about Jesus on the podcast. I mean, Joe's becoming an evangelist and maybe he doesn't intend to. Maybe he intends to. I have no idea. Maybe he's working the back door.
Well, it's kind of like Roman emperors didn't intend to send Christianity to the world, but because of the way they treated the Christians in Rome, where did they all go? They fled everywhere and told everyone else. You know, unintended consequences. You go, Joe.
Yeah. So I think our culture needs Jesus right now. There's no doubt about it. We need another Jesus. What did I say just before we started this podcast? Do you remember?
There's a lot of things you said before we started.
We need another Jesus revolution.
Another Jesus revolution. Now, have you seen that movie?
I have, twice.
Is it good?
It's great.
Okay.
I think it's great.
That's the one that has Tom Hanks in it, right?
No. Who's in that movie? The guy who plays Jesus in The Chosen. And what's his name? Jonathan Rumi. And then Frasier, who was on Cheers.
Sure.
Frasier Crane. What's his real name?
That's a great question.
I actually really liked him on Cheers.
Really?
And he said this is the most...
Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah, he said this is the most important film he's ever made.
Oh,
He was on one of these TV shows, and they were talking about the Jesus Revolution, and he was weepy the whole time.
No kidding?
Yeah, it really touched him.
Wow.
And I don't know if Kelsey's a Christian or not.
It's kind of like Jim Caviezel. Like, after he played the Passion of the Christ, man, that guy has been on fire for the Catholic Church and just evangelizing everywhere he goes. Mm-hmm. But he's blacklisted now to a lot of Hollywood moves.
He doesn't care.
No, he had his run on the TV shows, and he's got his royalties, and I know his family personally, and they're just good salts of the earth people.
Let's get into the weeds. Did you know, we'll come back to Joe maybe, but did you know Jim almost died filming that movie?
No.
Yeah, lightning struck him once when he was on the cross filming. And then...
is that like a sign from above? Blasphemy?
At the scourging scene, they had a metal plate on his back. And again, I don't know how they did that. I think it's pretty impressive. But they got him. They hit him somewhere, and Mel stopped it because he realized something was wrong. Well, one whip got a hold of him, and it took him down. Now, Jesus did how many of these? I mean, they tortured him. I think they could hit him 39 times before it counted as a death. Wow. Yeah. And this is Lent. No better time to talk about something like this in Lent. But yeah, Jim had to have heart surgery after the filming.
No kidding.
Yeah, open heart
surgery.
I did not know that. Oh yeah, it almost killed him. And he went through his own death.
Wow.
And came out stronger. And this is this could be a theme about Jesus. People who know and want to walk with Jesus, you're going to go through your own death. I mean, that's the way. This isn't Protestant doctrine, but I know a lot of Lutherans, like the way you grew up, is about carrying the cross. I mean, Jesus says, if you want to follow me, and this is for you, Joe, if you want to follow Jesus, you got to pick up your cross. And it's not a metaphor. I mean, it is, but it isn't. I mean, I'm not going to go buy a cross or make one and carry it around. But to embrace the suffering that Jesus wants to give us so we can grow. Because the way is the cross, you know.
People are so short-minded in that to get to the next level of life, take a baby, for instance, to get to the next level from being born to having movement, you have to endure suffering and annoyances of being on your tummy and stuck on your back. And you make everybody else's life miserable because you scream and you whine and you fuss, but no parent can go roll their child over for them. They have to figure it out on their own. That same child then endures suffering of learning to walk. Stand up, fall down, stand up, fall down, stand up, fall down, stand up, fall down. You realize if we were as tough in our whole life as a child is in the first 2 years of their life, there's absolutely no limit to the impact and the power that you could have on your family, on your community, on your church, on the world, if you would just keep getting back up every time you fell down, or if you were so determined about one goal in life, there's nothing that would stop you. You're unstoppable. Like, that kid will keep falling down for 4 months until it can take its first steps. It'll get a bruised bottom. It'll bang its head on the floor. It doesn't care. It cares in the minute, but 20 minutes later, it's right there trying to do the same thing again. Mm-hmm. And we wuss out so bad, me included. If I would have that level of persistence, holy moly, my church wouldn't know what to do with me.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about a man being on a mission.
Right.
Everything get out of the way. It's time to go.
Yeah.
And I think it is go time right now for the world.
It is.
The world is a mess.
But how do we keep pushing the scales? Because obviously God endured a lot of stupidity by his chosen people, worshiping, having Babylonians come in and take over Jerusalem and take all the people back to Babylon. And God is not unaccustomed to seeing the world fall apart at the seams. Where's the tipping point of, now is the time. Like the scripture said, now is the time. Now's the time for Jesus to come. Let's fulfill that scripture from the past 4,000 years. What does it take? How bad does it really have to get? Because we aren't bad. We got plenty of food to eat. We're not starving. We got all our lights on. And we're on the internet.
We have credit cards.
We
can just keep.
Right.
I want something else.
Right. Government keeps taking care of people. The world, they're fighting in Gaza, but nobody really cares.
Yeah, suicide rates are going up.
Skyrocketing.
Suicide rates among young children under 18 are really skyrocketing.
Young men between the ages of 35 and 50. It's unbelievable. Just had another one in our practice this week.
Yeah, and the just speaking about suicide briefly, we think I'm going to end my life because there's pain. How do you know there isn't pain on the other side? You might be just going into more pain.
But you have no consideration for
the
other side.
Yeah, that too.
It's
terribly selfish.
Right, you should cut off your nose, spite your face.
Yeah.
It's kind of like divorce. Divorce is easy. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of wanting to be in this family because none of my needs are fulfilled or are met. But who says they're going to be met on the other side?
Yeah, exactly. It's just think about all of this a little bit before you put a bullet in your brain.
Mm-hmm. Or in a family.
Yeah. But yeah, we really need Christ right now to straighten this world out. If you look at the Catholic Church alone, it's a mess. All the way up to the top, it's a mess. The shepherds are not leading. My shepherd is. I love my bishop here. You would love my bishop. Great guy. And but I think throughout the world, the Catholic Church is a mess. And I think all the mainline denominations, talking to you and other people, they're a mess. Even in the evangelical world, it's a mess. There's some good stuff happening. Joel Osteen is not one of them. And look how popular. That dog wouldn't even open his church when that crazy storm came through. He's in Houston, right?
Yes.
He wouldn't even open his doors.
Yeah, the mattress king is the one who got him in there.
Unbelievable. So we do need Jesus to come. And I think the reason why he hasn't come yet is because not enough people are asking him. If the Christians all stood united and just prayed, "Come, Jesus, come," I think he'd come back right now. And maybe that's a movement that we all start asking Jesus to come right now.
Well, would the Catholic Church want Jesus to come back now? Would the Catholic organization from its top down, if Jesus showed up tomorrow, would they embrace him or they call him a heretic? Would they call him like the Pharisees did? Like, no, you're way too strict. No, you don't follow any of our rules. You heal on the Sabbath.
Well, that question sort of takes me to what has been developing in Texas. There is a Catholic order or organization. I think it's more of an organization than an order. Do you know? And it's called Divine Mercy Mission. they have been receiving messages from Jesus and Mary, and I think also God the Father for 30 years. So it goes back to 84? I can't do math.
Is God E.T.? I think I saw this
No,
movie
94.
Contact.
I'm sorry?
Is this the movie Contact where they're getting messages from space? Big antenna?
I suppose you could. Wasn't Jodie Foster in that movie?
Jodie Foster's in that movie.
Didn't she go through that goofy looking CERN thing and
Yep.
in 3 seconds she had an experience with her dad or something?
Yeah, it was, yep.
That's so silly. But they've been receiving messages and they're finally releasing them. And you can go listen to the messages. And again, you always have to use the word alleged because we don't know with certainty. But they're all in, of course. And so they've been suffering with all these words from Jesus and Mary and God the Father, and they started releasing them.
Suffering. What do you mean suffering?
Well, it's when you know God wants to say something to the world and you have to wait 30 years, right? That's a long time. I mean, we don't think about suffering. Suffering comes in many different forms. I mean, we, as Catholics, I think sometimes we think too much suffering has to be nailed to a cross. I mean,
We'll pick up and carry your cross. I mean,
Yeah.
that's heavy. That's hard to do.
Anyway, so to answer your question, but would the Catholic Church want Jesus to come back? If that message is from Jesus, and I believe it is, and let's put a link to Divine Mercy Mission, and you can read or listen to the messages. The bishops are in trouble, big time, because God, I think it was God the Father says, "I will." I don't want to quote God wrong, but he was referring to, paraphrasing, that they have one more chance to repent and come back to him. And I think he used the word, you have 1 hour. And I don't think that means 60 minutes. You have a moment in time, and then he will bring his justice. Now, if this is all true, which who knows, to answer your question, no, I don't think the Catholic Church as an institution, I don't think they're ready for him to come back. I think this is maybe a final warning. And maybe, you think about Riley Gaines, you think about even Joe and Aaron were asking Jesus to come back. Maybe he's on his way. I mean, maybe this is it in the next couple of years. Maybe we see crazy things happen. I don't know.
More crazy than we've already seen.
Well, maybe we ain't seen nothing yet.
Well, isn't that maybe more the truth? If even part of Revelations is understood in a modern context of what does a pale horse represent? Like what do these symbols really represent or mean? Because you already remember, John was writing from a context of what he thought he knew and he saw in his frame of understanding in his given place and time. And so seeing a beast rise up out of the sea, or to talk about the 4 horsemen, were they really on horses, or is that like the closest idea of what he was getting for a vision he could see? This is just the fascinating part of, there's a lot of suffering in Revelations if you're not a believer.
Are we in Revelations right now? I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say yes, but there are people, Catholics online that I follow on YouTube that I really like. They think definitely we're in Revelations right now.
See, and I can't buy it because of, I think back 200 years ago in this very country, people coming across this land, right where we sit.
The great experiment.
On a covered wagon. You're married, you've got your wife, you've got 2 kids, and your wife's pregnant, and you say, you know what, we're going to go on a 1,200-mile wagon ride.
And you might die.
And you might very well die. And how bad does where you left have to be that you're willing to put your entire lineage on a trail for an idea of something better? Now, I don't think we face anything to that scale in our current life, that people would up and leave everything they own in mass amounts, because there were hundreds, and maybe we're seeing it with the infiltration on our border, but the American experience isn't that bad. it's tough. There's people who suffer without a doubt, but their suffering's as a result of choices that they've made, what they value, what's important. And we all suffer from those things. I put my hand in a fire, I get burned. Sure, that was dumb. I buy the wrong vehicle and I'm stuck with car payments because I thought I needed something really nice when I could have got by with something that
From the
was
1990s.
was very functional, and creating our own suffering.
But
I don't know.
But there's a different kind of suffering, because I agree with what you're saying. I really do. It ain't too bad over here in America. I think it's better in Russia.
The suffering or the life?
No, the lifestyle.
Really?
I think because of communism in Russia, that led to a lot of conversion. I watched. I was on X the other day, and somebody posted a video in downtown Moscow, and asked the question, "What do you see?" Well, there are a bunch of skinny adults who looked great, who dressed great. Nobody had tattoos, and they seemed to have joy. And nobody was obese. Nobody. Now, again, you could probably do that in America. Find a place where people are walking by. I don't know if you can. You might be able to, I'm sure. If you set it up, definitely. Is Russia healthier than America? We've been talking about how bad Russia is. Russia. But maybe they've had a conversion. Maybe America is one. But getting back to America, we suffer in a different way.
How do we suffer?
I think there's a lot of mental suffering. You think about what the screen has done to families. The screen has done to young boys, particularly in the areas of pornography, lust, that whole category, how it's screwed up our minds. We don't know.
Coveting.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of coveting.
Mm-hmm. And then, the great American dream. And what do you have to do? Do you really sell your soul to have the great American dream? And then the lifestyle and how much money you think you have to have in your 401k so you can retire and then die. Ask my brother Ron about that. Yet I think two of his buddies in his mid to late 50s who retired early both died. One got cancer and died. I'm not sure how the other one died.
Probably a lack of purpose.
Yeah, maybe. Again, I don't think the American dream is working, but we have a lot of families who are really hurting because of lack of relationship, lack of love, and lack of respect. And parents don't know their own kids because they're chasing the American dream, so they ship them off. And I've got friends who do this, but they ship them off to daycare all day long, and they don't get to know their kids because they get home, they're exhausted. Particularly their mom, she's exhausted. She's got to make a meal and then try to have fun with them for an hour and put them to bed. I mean, that's not a life.
Isn't that one of the
normal.
greatest lies that Americans have ever been told, is that you have to be a 2-income household?
Yeah, and so the government can tax you twice.
And someone else can raise your kids, and you provide. There's no foundation for the home.
Not to get too much in the weeds with this one, but there's a video online that you can, I think it's on YouTube. I'll try to find it. That a psychologist talks, the moment you separate you and your child, particularly the women, not the men so much, some separation happens with that baby right away.
Mm-hmm.
They miss you. They want to be with you, and they feel rejected. Then we have all these kids who have been, if this is all true, which I don't know. Jordan Peterson, you can speak into this. I don't know, but do you have all these kids that are rejected, angry with their mom and dad because they never really loved them? Don't even know why they're angry.
Yep. Just missing something.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great research study that just came out about 4 months ago, and it talked about what it was a psychological study for women, young girls specifically, 18 to 24, so college level. And what it was is half the group was supposed to text their mom every day. The other group had to call and talk to their mom every day. Had to be for at least a minute, longer, but there was no cap, and there was a minimum, but there was no cap. And what they did is they did, mental health screenings, and they did self-worth screenings, and then they also measured hormone levels in these women. And it was really fascinating because they did exclude, women that were on birth control and things that were an outside influence. It was just, and it was a fairly large study, I think right around 200 if I remember correctly. But what they measured were all these facets. And the women that texted their mom every day had a relatively normal level of self-worth, value, whatnot. But they had absolutely no hormonal changes, as opposed to the group that called and talked to their mom. The ones that vocalized and spoke with their mom, again, had a slightly better perspective of their self-worth and value. But what was the bigger interesting change was the levels of oxytocin, which is a relaxing hormone in the body, spiked for all these girls every day when they talked to their mom. And hearing their mother's voice did it. Texting did not. So that would be my takeaway from our conversation, besides, Jesus has got to come back, is if you're a parent, call your kids. Don't text them. Call them. Spend time with them, because it does more for them than you realize.
Yeah, there's more than one way to be in hell.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we talk about that enough.
Well, it goes back to my point about, I don't think we really suffer that much in America. Well, you bring a really good point. There's actually a lot of suffering.
It's different, though.
Yeah.
We're not in Nero circus being stabbed by spears and eaten by lions right now.
Right.
It could be even worse. We're in some sort of weird state. Children are addicted to the screens. There's no way around it.
But parents put them there.
Parents put them there.
You bought them. You bought them.
Yeah.
They're yours.
Yeah.
Take them away.
Take them away.
The Xbox away. Throw it down the stairs. Yes, your child's going to have a tantrum. They're going to have a tantrum because it's no different than an alcoholic losing their alcohol, or a drug person losing their drug of choice. Take it away. It's yours. You bought it with your money. And if your kid bought it, it's still your house. It's your internet. It's your roof. Ball up and take it away.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but a quick question as we start to wrap up.
Sorry, that was a little intense. I'm passionate about that.
It's the truth. It really is the truth. But do you find yourself more and more inclined to be on your phone or to not be on your phone?
Great question. Because I don't want to be. And when I do, I get stuck. I get stuck in it. And as soon as I get off, I feel like trash. I've deleted all my social media, Facebook and Instagram. Well, Instagram and a lot of these like instant feedback loops. But the one I haven't removed, because I do use it as a tool quite often, is YouTube. But I've even hidden the app from my home screens. Like, I can't see it. I actually have to pull it up. And that stupid thing, I can open it up with an intent to do it as a tool, and I've got reels. The reels automatically pop up, and there'll be something there that'll spike my interest. And then I'm stuck scrolling, and then I feel like trash.
Oh, I've been there. I mean, a lot of us, one time
I'll admit it.
My whole arm was tired. I was sore the next day, and I'm like, why am I sore? I was on that thing for probably an hour and a half, flipping through. And I don't do it often, but I just want to see one thing, and then I went to the next, and they're 30 seconds or 45 seconds or quick. If I don't like it, it's just real.
They've got you figured out.
It's a form of addiction.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm more and more inclined not to be on my phone. I don't know where my phone is usually. Not because my kids grab it and use it, but I leave it lay, and that could be a memory thing, but I don't care about it. I don't really care about it. I remember when AT&T was first bringing in the iPhone, 2011, 2010, I was so pumped up to get an iPhone. And then finally in South Dakota, they got us iPhones. And I just thought it was the best thing, man. But I didn't know about the addictive properties.
And I was a BlackBerry guy because of the PDA. I loved it using it as a planning tool. Now it's just a block of entertainment.
Boy, did they screw up, BlackBerry.
They missed the boat.
Oh, big time. Who wants to push buttons?
Right.
Anyway, I think my takeaway is we should start calling upon the name of the Lord and ask Jesus to come back. Really, I mean it. I think it's time.
I think we need to start with my takeaway is we
Yeah.
need to start with that Jesus revolution at our kitchen table.
You bet.
A breakfast, supper, bedtime, it has to start under our roof. That revolution needs to start with whoever's listening. And if you're a grandparent, talking to your kids and your grandkids when they're under your roof, it's okay to have standards. It's okay to not accept behaviors. You can say, here's my cell phone bucket. All the cell phones go here when you come in my house. It's your house. Teenagers will get over it. They'll thank you for it in 10 years because they'll have memories that they spent with you. So that's my takeaway is the Jesus revolution has to start with you.
So what did Joshua say? For me and my house, we will serve the Lord. That's right. And ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, particularly men, fathers in the home, it's on you. You are responsible for everything that happens in your home. It's going to be on you. You are the father, the spiritual leader of the family. The women don't want it. Essentially, they don't want to do it, but because you don't go to church, because you don't pray, they have to. And so they're wearing too many hats, and they can't do it.
They get burned out.
So, men, it's really on you to get your act together. Why don't you start praying every day? Well, I don't know how to pray, Glenn. Well, that's a great prayer to ask God. Tell him, I don't know how to pray. Teach me. And he will. That's a promise. He will. But you have to show up. You can't try one time. Well, he didn't say anything. I'm done. I'm out. No, you have to show up every day. Well, remember, ladies and gentlemen, you really are loved. And may God strengthen the bars of your gates. God bless you all.